Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. We're standing amongst the ruins of a Greek temple that we built in the last episode, and today we're going to be building a secret storage room right down these stairs. Now it's going to be pretty big because we have quite a few chests that we need to be able to accommodate, so there's a lot of digging that's going to have to take place and a lot of building as well, and I'm really excited to get to show you guys these rooms because I've spent a lot of time on them and I think they've turned out very nice. Now, in order to build this underground storage room, we'll need quite the variety of blocks, and one of the blocks that I'm gonna be using is packed mud, and to do that, we'll have to get a bunch of mud as well as wheat. So I have 2 wheat fields here, and I plan on harvesting the right one here in its entirety, and I want to take some of the advice that you guys gave me as well, and that was to create a melon or pumpkin farm in one of the plots here. And I thought that I might as well hit 2 birds with 1 stone and convert this plot to a melon and pumpkin plot while we're at it, since I've already harvested all the wheat on it. So that's the first thing that we're gonna do, so let's get to harvesting. Now I do want to try to avoid destroying all the ferns and the short grass here that I've added for decorations, because I want that to persist throughout the melon and pumpkin field that we're gonna be converting it into. It might be a little bit hard though. Wow, I'm not even finished with harvesting the entirety of the field and I've already filled up my inventory. So I'll drop some of it off and we can return right to it. Alright, so that's the field harvested in its entirety. Now the idea here is that we're gonna sort of haphazardly spread some melon seeds and pumpkin seeds throughout the farm area here. Now we're not gonna be using the melon seeds or the pumpkin seeds too liberally, because when I envision sort of a melon farm or a pumpkin farm, what I'm thinking is that it's not completely filled out with pumpkins or melons. It's sort of strewn a little bit about and not too congested in one area. So there's plenty of space like around the pumpkin and around the melons for just plain soil. Now the entire field here is very nice and tilled and wet as well, but I kind of want to avoid that because, well, there's not a lot of texture here. So I'm gonna scatter some dirt around, some coarse dirt and some other blocks as well. And we can try to make it look a little better and a little more varied in terms of the soil that we see here on the ground. Actually a little bit like the ground here looks, maybe without like the concrete powder and the brown concrete. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is remove all the water so we get the soil turned back into dirt. Actually, you know what, I've changed my mind. I'm gonna keep the soil here hydrated and just change the blocks out manually. That way we still get the opportunity of having some of the blocks stay hydrated. And we can just manually replace the ones that we want to change. Okay, I think we managed to save it before things got completely out of hand. But now the idea is to remove some of it like this here and sort of pop in a lot of coarse dirt. So we just sort of have some patches that are strewn about. I found some dripstone blocks as well that I think could be pretty interesting to use. I have no idea how this is gonna turn out. But maybe if there's like one singular patch, right, it could work out. Maybe if we like add some packed mud here around it, it could look pretty cool. And maybe a coarse dirt block for effect as well. I thought that maybe some puzzle could work. I'm not exactly sure though. This one is a bit of a maybe. I guess it looks fine. I feel like as long as you don't overdo things too much, small patches of random blocks don't look that out of place. Now I think this doesn't look half bad. I just think we need to sprinkle in a little more variation, because it's still very brown. Maybe we could argue that some grass has sort of infiltrated as well. We do have the short grass and the ferns, but maybe a little bit more of just grass blocks being strewn about could make it pop a little bit more. So maybe if we like add some grass blocks like this, to sort of give it a little bit more color. I think this looks pretty good. We just need to add a few more patches to the field and we can start planting the melons and the pumpkins. I think this is a pretty good starting point to get the melons and the pumpkins planted, so let's get to it. Now I have absolutely no idea how this is gonna look once things start to grow. So it's as much of a mystery to me as it is to you guys here. Now we just gotta bone meal things up a little bit here. They're actually really tricky to hit, the small stems here. And we do already have one that's grown over here. Okay, and that one grew real fast. Wait, if I do it an extra time? No, okay, so it was just luck. I thought that maybe you could like trigger it to sort of make the pumpkin. It's also pretty interesting that it's only pumpkin that has grown, even though I planted more melon seeds, I think. Maybe melons just grow slower, I don't know. It could also be pretty cool if like you could force some of them to not grow. So we just had some of these here sticking up. I think maybe adding some moss carpets here could make the build look a little bit better as well. Sort of to add a little bit of height to it, right? It's not a lot, but it is a little bit. And it could also make sense that it sort of connects up with the wall, right? Because we have some mossy wall here, and then some of the ground is mossy as well. Now I thought that one final thing we might do here is to create sort of a big pumpkin. Now granted, all the pumpkins here are real big, they're cubic meter, but if we do something like this... Wait, will this not connect up to it by itself? Maybe if we remove this one? But yeah, I wanted to have sort of like a big pumpkin on top here. Sort of like one of those big trophy pumpkins that you might see at a fair. So hopefully this grows all by itself. Now if we take one last aerial view and ignore the funny looking pumpkin thing that we have over here for a minute, I think it looks pretty good. I think we've achieved the overgrown look that we were going for. And I think this field is pretty much complete. Now all that remains is to wait for that to grow and then remove the blocks, but I think I'll just do that on my own time here. Now I did forget to show you, but we did also pick up all the wheat that we'll need, so we're safe on that front as well. Now it's time to get started on the secret underground storage room, and in order to do that, I thought it might be best suited for us to have a piston door that will sort of allow us to enter the secret storage room. So we're gonna have some stairs that go down here, a piston door, and then we're gonna get started on building the storage room after that. So first, gotta dig out a little bit of space here and build some nice sides here for the stairwell as well. So something like this here could work. And now these 5 blocks here are gonna be the piston door. I did plan on doing 6, but I only had 5 slime balls, so it only amounted to 5 sticky pistons. So we're a bit limited in that regard, but I think it makes sense as well that maybe one of the pistons has malfunctioned over time, right? Because this is like an ancient ruin, so we can't expect everything to be fully operational. Now these guys go here, like this, and then we can add some polished wall here. And maybe throw in some of the cooler blocks here as well. Now there's a lot of wiring of the redstone that needs to be done as well, and I've gathered the resources for it. And I've also built the door in a separate testing vault, and I'm not gonna try to replicate it here live on camera for you guys because, well, I'm not mumbo jumbo, right? So I hope you guys will bear with me while I get this sorted. Alright, so the wiring is all finished up, and if we hit the button here, we can see that the door opens and closes. It closes real fast, but I think we can manage to get through, right? Just like that. And we also got a button here on the other side, so we can escape again. It was a little bit more manageable than I expected, but I also had a schematic to follow here, right? So that of course made it a little bit easier. But the idea here is that once we enter, we can turn to the left and go down another flight of stairs, where we can enter an intermediate room here, before we then can turn to the right and then enter the storage room. So there's a lot of materials that we'll need together before we can start building, and some of the materials that we'll need are quite far away. We'll need some terracotta, for example, and that's about 3,000 blocks away. So I think the plan is to empty my inventory, and we can pick up the boat and set sail out and go on a little resource gathering adventure. Let's set sail here. So for the build we'll need some terracotta, a lot of sandstone and some mud as well. And fortunately those biomes are actually pretty close to each other, so we can pick some mud up on the way over to the desert that also connects up to the mesa nicely. Now I just realized that I hadn't noticed I ran out of disk space on the way here. And fortunately, it was just right when I went through this forest right here. So to catch you guys a little bit up to speed with what has happened since then, all I've done is basically explain that I wanted to gather some mud, and I've done that. And also that I picked up some clay balls on the way here for some pottery and things for the decoration parts of the build. So with that out of the way, and the ender chest picked back up again, it's time to head over to the desert and the mesa so we can get the sandstone and the terracotta we'll need as well. It's kinda cool that there's two ocean monuments here, so close to each other. I do think that they are a little bit too far apart to be activated simultaneously. Imagine if you could make like a double ocean monument spawner thing. That would be really cool. Alright, so we've just arrived. Now let's go get those resources. Alright, so with this big hole dug out, I think we've gathered all the sandstone that we'll need. I have a couple of stacks here and 11 stacks of sandstone in here as well, so that should do the trick. Now, one thing I didn't expect was that the terracotta wasn't really going to be available in all the different colors. I thought I remembered that there were plenty more colors available on just the mesa mountains here, but it turns out that there's only like 5 or 6 different colors available. So I guess we'll have to get some dye involved when we get back. And yeah, speaking of heading back, that's what we're gonna do right now. I am gonna stop for calcite deposits in the amethyst geodes if we see some on the way back, but in any case, I'll see you guys back at base. Alright, so we're back, and as you can see, I did manage to find an amethyst geode, so I picked up all the calcite I could find inside it. And with the calcite and all the sandstone that we've gathered, our pickaxes are basically broken. We'll need to fix those up before we can start the big digging project underneath the temple. Now, we've gathered a few of the base materials, but we'll need some more, but I'll do that off camera, and I'll also craft the different blocks into the variants we need them in, for example slabs and stairs and the likes, so I'll do that and I'll be right back. I'm right back, and except for a few copper blocks I still need to oxidize, we've gathered up all the materials here in the 2 chests, and for example, we're going to be using a dot of terracotta because we're going to be painting a picture in the ceiling of one of the 2 rooms that we're going to be digging down there in just a little bit. Now, one thing we'll have to do before we can get started is repairing these 2 pickaxes because they won't last very long when having to dig the amount of blocks that we're going to dig. So let's head over to the starter house because I think that's where all the diamonds are stashed currently. And yeah, we do only have 3 diamonds, which is not a lot. I don't think that would be enough to get us all the way through the digging process that we're going to have to do. And as you guys can see, I've been cutting it a little bit close. For example, this pickaxe here only has 10 durability left. And it's my fortune pickaxe, so I really don't want it to break. Now, I do believe the diamonds are down to the left here, but I have to take care of that guy first. It would be a shame to lose all my equipment in the lava here. Alright, so here somewhere I've seen diamonds previously in some previous episodes. I've just not wanted to pick them up without you guys because I feel like suddenly having a lot of diamonds that I found off camera would be a little bit weird. I really thought they were here. This is where I dug out all the obsidian for the nether portals that we built. There we go, there's some diamonds. I was starting to get a little bit confused here about where they were located, because I knew I'd found some previously that I hadn't picked up. Now we just gotta survive this zombie onslaught first. Let's see how many we get. 1, that's typical. There is fortune on this pickaxe, like, I feel like I've been so unlucky with fortune regarding the diamonds. Here's some more. Let's check this time. And 1 again? What is going on? This can't be real. There's another diamond up there. Surely we get more than 1 this time. Oh, there's 1 there as well. Okay, here we go. And 1 again? What is going on? For sure this one gives more than 1. There is fortune on this pickaxe. Like, I'm not crazy. Okay, that's so unfortunate. Alright, so even though we were quite unlucky, it's fine. We got 7 diamonds now, and that should be enough to repair both pickaxes, so it doesn't matter too much. So it's time to head up and find an anvil. Alright, there it is. Let's craft up 2 pickaxes here. Okay, that's actually really cheap. I could have enchanted those 2 other pickaxes, but I don't feel like I'm gonna get something that's much better than just what we got here. Like, this could be efficiency 4, but it really doesn't matter. Anyway, we have 1 diamond to our name now. Yeah, that's not a lot. Maybe we'll get more in the future. Hopefully, at least. In any case, it's time to head back up to the temple. What did that creeper just do? It just blew up the pathway. And the bush here. That's probably the worst part of it. Let's put some ferns back down here. Try to mask things a little bit. That should cover it for the moment. In any case, before that guy comes over here and blows me up another time, it's time to get the build started, so let's go. So the build's all finished up, and I decided to try to do something a little different with the time-lapse. Usually I go for the slow-paced one, but today I felt that a fast-paced one might work a little better, and also just to try to experiment with it a little bit, so you guys can let me know how you thought that one turned out. One of the reasons was also that I felt that it might work a little bit better since we had to excavate a lot of ground here. But yeah, let's take a look at it. First up is sort of a utensil room here, where I decided that the temple people could really use one of these because they might need a space underground that's cold to store all their like ointments and other different types of stuff that you might need for the holy rituals that they were conducting. So that's the reason for me adding some small flower pots here, which are smaller pots, and then the big decorated pots for bigger quantities of materials that they might need frequently. As you can see here, I went for a yellow color in the sandstone, and I did that because usually ancient civilizations are slightly misrepresented with just using purely white stuff, which isn't really true. They also used a lot of colors and they like to do so. So I tried to emulate that a little bit, and also the reason that these walls here haven't faded as much as the pillars upstairs is because they aren't exposed to the element. And since the door is sealed shut, there's no circulation of air that would rapidly deteriorate the building here and the facades of it. As you can see here, I've also went for a lot of arches, and that is to offer structural integrity to the build so that the roof doesn't come crashing down. There's a ton of weight upstairs and arches are really good at supporting that. Another thing that I want to show you guys is that I've sort of used darker wood here up top, sort of to emulate that there might be a little bit of humidity, so it's not entirely completely isolated from the outside world. And that means that the upper layers here of the wood has sort of taken a little bit of water damage, while the lower parts here aren't as likely to have taken damage. Now, the reason for water damage only being in the shelves on the wall here is because I felt that water might have run down the wall and therefore only having made the upper layers here damp, and that the shelves that we have freestanding here in the center might have a little more circulation and be less likely to have water dripping down on top of it. So that is sort of a pattern that persists throughout this room here, as you can see. I also had to add in this chest here temporarily for the time lapse because I had to dig out a lot of stone, as you guys can see. You can see my pickaxe is almost broke here again, but we managed to get it done, so it's all good. If we take a look here at the storage room, you guys can see that I've again decided to use a lot of arches to keep up the integrity of the roof because there's a lot of stuff here that needs to be supported, right? And yeah, otherwise it would just collapse. Up top here, we have the painting that I was talking about, and I decided to use a ton of terracotta again to sort of underline what I said previously about these ancient civilization not being averse to using a lot of colors in their builds, and that is depicted right here up on the ceiling, which I think looks pretty cool, all things considered. I tried to use a lot of variants of terracotta and using like 5 or 6 blocks of each. Now regarding the actual storage here, we have 7 of these areas here scattered around, where we have about 80 chests and barrels in total. So there is quite a bit of storage, but not as much as you might expect for such a big storage room here. But I think it will do fine here for the moment, and we can always just remove a lot of the stuff here and add just chests if we find that that's necessary for the build. But for the moment I felt that this looked way better than just having rows of chests lined up, so that's the reason for that. Another thing to notice here is that the cupboard trapdoors aren't yet in their desired state that I want them to be in, but once they weather a little bit I will wax them and we can get that sorted as well. But for the moment I've just felt that it was way easier to just place them down and then fix it at a later stage, because otherwise I could have spent all day just waiting for the copper to oxidize. Now one thing that also happened is that when I went out here to pick up more materials for the build, I did get exploded, or the entrance did get exploded twice by creepers, which was a little inconvenient, but I managed to survive. That's also the reason that I only have 1 piece of armor left here. But we can always make more, so it's okay. Now one final thing that I wanted to do was place down some pots here, and flower pots scattered around the builds that we've created. Just to sort of reinforce that the adventurer from the adventurers camp here that we built in the last episode has looked through some of the different sites and decided that some of the pots were worth looking further into and investigating a little bit closer. So maybe if we place some back here. Maybe one over here with a small pot as well. Sort of covered a little bit from the outside world, so you can't actually see them from outside, but once you go up here you can easily see that they're here. Now let's head back down to the temple again and place the rest of them. So we got some here, some there, so maybe it could make sense for some to be here as well. Maybe 1 or 2 over in this area here as well. I think that does the trick. Sort of to have some remnants here right from its glory days as well. Now placing down all these pots here that are scattered around the builds was a viewer suggestion, and I'm quite happy to accommodate those in general, because it involves you guys in the videos and well, it also improves the build, so thanks for those. Now with that said, let's head down to the storage room again. Now when it comes to transferring all the materials that we have acquired down into the storage room here, I'll do that in between episodes. So with the storage room here in the background, I want to thank you guys for watching. I've enjoyed making this video, I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.